All right, well, it's 12 o'clock, so I guess I'll go ahead and get started. the I guess what I was thinking is, I will do a little bit of a shop tour, not much of a shop, but and then also wanted to kind of talk about the my design concept, and if I explain that, that you probably understand why and how I built my or designed and built my camper, because there are some limitations that I have to kind of work around. So grab my, and then and I really don't have any set agenda or anything. So if you guys have uh, you know questions or anything, just let me know. And this is the agenda that I was kind of thinking about. Like I said, I'll show you the shop and my garage setup, and my thought on designing small campers, and then I'll kind of walk through the features that I have on my camper, and then probably kind of talk about the lesson learned and stuff that I learned while I was building it. So let me stand up, and this is my hello. So this is my garage. This is just a regular, normal two-car garage, and so I keep my camper in one side of it, and then I have a small shop in the back. And this is not the garage that I built my camper. I built this is we live in the Atlanta, Georgia right now, and we built this when we were in Tennessee. But I think the setup is very similar. We wanted to keep the camper inside of the garage, so I had to keep the overall length, somewhere around 12 feet. So to fit within the garage. So from the back to the front, that I wanted to keep it, about 12 feet. And of course, the width is 5 feet going this way. So, so that I have, storage space in the garage and still leave some space for the shop. And just kind of go through the quick tour or the tools that I used when I was building. I did have this table saw. It's good when you're doing like a cabinet work or small work, but not necessarily. It's not a necessity to have when you're building a teardrop. A lot of time, if you're working with the sheet goods, it's probably better to just lay it in the floor of a garage and use a circular saw and straight edge cut that piece. And here I do have a router table. That's very handy. And a miter saw, that was handy. And then I had drill press. Really, that's all the tool that I had, more of a, the countertop or the stationary tool. I did not have a sander. This is really recent addition, and it is very, very handy, especially when you're making like a template or something like this that you can use to build multiple same thing, over and over. So that's the shop, and so this is kind of, this is the storage space that I had to keep, and then that's when I figured out that I should just make the tongue portion removable, so I can just that's about 3 feet or so, that I don't have to have it sticking out when I store in the garage. When I close the door, it comes to very close to where the receiver is, so I can maximize this storage space. So that's the shop, and so obviously it's not a very big shop, and it's nothing like some of the member. Some guys have a real big garage, a big shop, but I would think this is more on a small scale, small size. So if you have a one car garage, I think you can build your camper there. All right, so me sit down here, and when I was designing my camper, oops. So here's the concept, or the thing that I was kind of designing around. So, my career or my job is an architect. So, I deal with, sorry, there's somebody backing up in the background. But, I design building every day. So, I kind of go through the design step as, everyday job. And these are the kind of stuff that I, use on my job. So, this is kind of the question that I ask everybody. So, like, first, like, who is it for? So, that was, that's the first thing. I have 2 kids, and when I started building mine, it was my son was 4 and my daughter was 1. But, I wanted to have a camper for 4 people. So that really determined the size of camper that I needed. And then, the other question is the how. How are we using the camper? And then, our kind of use of the camper is, we're mainly going to use it for road trips. We weren't really thinking about going to, out in the desert, doing a lot of boondocking. But, so it's mostly driven on the interstate, long distance. So it was important for me to have safe trailers that I can, tow in a interstate setting. And then what is the, what kind of look? I really love the classic look of Teardrop, the aluminum skin and then rounded shape. So that's kind of the style that I was going after. And then when and where is, I wanted to go everywhere, anywhere in U.S. and whenever. And it is in my bucket list to go to Alaska sometime. So, I wanted to have a camper that's, good enough to do that. And then also another where is, what kind of camping situation or what kind of campgrounds. And then, we've been mostly camping in the developed campgrounds, either state park, national park. And so, that determines the utilities. I really didn't have to have a built-in utility in the camper. I don't have a water tank. I don't have, running plumbing. The propane is just a tank, and when I need to use a propane stove, I'll just bring it to the back. And then, so then as far as the power, I have a small battery. It's not big enough to, run a AC or anything, and I don't even have a cooler. And so, I have a very minimal utility. But that was sort of the mindset going into designing the building. And so that kind of set the ground rule when I was building. So if I decide to add something, do something different, then I always came back to these questions and then kind of helped me guide through the design. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're going through the when I show different features of my camper. And so I guess with that, let me just kind of walk through and then show you different features that may be a little bit unique to my camper. And let me just kind of start from the back. This is the galley area. And I guess start by saying we finished building ours in, so you can see 2015. The first camp was in April 2015. Oh, man, I hope you can still hear me okay. There's a neighbor backing up their truck. But, when we started camping for first, almost 2 years, I did not have anything over here. I had a plywood full of countertop, and I didn't have all these drawers in the galley. It was just all bare wood. And then, it wasn't really intended to do that. But you know, I just wanted to start using it, and you know, kids are getting older, and so I just wanted anxious to start using it. And turns out that was a good decision because, you know, things that I thought that I would like didn't stay, and I changed the design when I actually start outfitting all these different drawers. Like this space here, originally, I was thinking I want the camshaft stove and oven combo unit, and that's what set this counter height. And but when you know when we start actually using this, you know, we figured, you know, we don't actually bake anything, and when we're camping, so we really didn't need an oven for the. I know that's a good unit, and but you know we figure we don't need it, so you know we just bought this small stove, and you know that's all we needed. So if we if I had known that originally, I probably kept the countertop a little bit lower. Right now, from the floor or the ground to the countertop is about 40 feet. So it's a little bit to the high side of the dimension. You know, it would be nice if it was a little bit lower, a couple inches lower. So, you know, if you're actually working on this countertop, and then, you know, we're short people. And so, you know, it would help. But you know, so I guess one tip is not to, you know, design your camper to a specific product or something that you want to use. And I see people have a cooler built into in the back of Galley with the slides and stuff. But you know, if you do, make sure you don't design it exactly to the dimension of whatever the cooler you're using, because otherwise, you know, it's gonna, you know, you get to the point that you have to replace the cooler. Then you know if they manufacturers discontinue the cooler and then you know replace them maybe a little bit larger than your original one, then you know the space that you had original one wouldn't fit. So you know that's something that you kind of need to think about. But anyway, this is the stove, and I have another drawer here where I keep my, you know, utensils and tablecloth. And sorry, kind of hard to do with one hand. And I kept the bottom side open for, you know, initially just for the general storage. And right now I have this cowboy walk, this SCADA store there, and then you know, it fits fine. Of course, you know, I kind of have to modify it a little bit to fit in that space. The middle part is the, I have 2 drawers. All right, I got my assistant here. She's gonna hold the camera for me. So this is the progressive dynamic 40 45, the power control, and then you can see there's a battery down there. So, and I did not have battery started out, and that's pretty recent addition. I added that I think last year. So you know, for the first 5 years or so, you know, we didn't have a battery because, you know, we knew we were going to stay in the state park. And so this is a very tiny drawer. This is where we keep our coffee maker, or the drip coffee maker. And then here is another drawer where I keep all my silverware and stuff. And in this tray, you know, I can just take it to the table. And this here, I have a strap and a water hose and stuff like that. So all these will stay in here full time. I don't, you know, take it into the house or anything. And this door here is another sort of the, you know, largest drawer we have. It keeps other random camping stuff. And again, below that is just another general bulky stuff storage. This is something that I made for the water jug. And this here, is the sink, original sink. You know, I designed it so that I can use this IKEA stainless sink, and then originally it sat here when we travel, and then when we get to the campsite, I put this in the hole, and I changed this. So original one was, you know, finished in 2016, so about a year after we start using, and the current setup was done 2020 last year. And then the reason is, you know, if we use this sink, of course, you know, we gotta have a drain, we have to have a bucket, and you know, it just kind of became a hustle to keep up with, and also this just takes up so much space. So we decided to just go with the this collapsible tub, and you know, doing dishes and stuff like that is much simpler. And then also, you know, using this, it helps us conserve the water quite a bit. If we have a, you know, running plumbing, you know, like in a state park where you have a water faucet next to you, you know, we just continuously just run water all the time. But using this, you know, it helps us conserve water. And then also I can take this to a picnic table or stuff like, you know, somewhere else to do the wash dishes. And if I'm not using the tub, I'll just have this here, and then that becomes just another extra workspace. So the way this collapses is that, I think some people have seen this already. So I hope you can see this, but so this is so all that fits into this sort of a 2-inch gap that I have left for my sink. And so, you know, I knew going in, I didn't want to have a sink and a countertop because it just takes up way too much space. And but then, you know, it is handy to have. So, you know, that was just my solution, to have a sink right here. And, you know, obviously it's kind of hard to have a sink, but then, you know, that just became a design challenge. And then, you know, it was a fun project. And then this right here is pretty recent addition. It was, I call it floating shelf, and it was done in 2000, I guess July last year. And right at the Tennessee gathering last year in June, my wife, Yumi, she was like cooking something. She was like, you know, wouldn't it be nice if we had a little more shelf? Like, you know, I have these shelf at the top, but you know, this is where we keep coffee stuff, and this is where we keep the rice cooker and pots and pans, you know. But you know, she didn't have a place to put her like a spice and things like that, and she just wanted a place to just put a random stuff off. She's using this Galley, and she was like, you know, we need something. And well, you know, I mean, this is at last year, so you know, we've been using this for 5-6 years, and you know, it's kind of hard to add additional storage. But then kind of hit me that, you know, on the all of the Teardrop, you know, when you close the hatch, you typically end up with this sort of a triangular space on the countertop. So this right here, when I close my hatch, oops, yeah, course, you know, you have to clean this up before you close the hatch. Otherwise, you know, everything that's on the shelf will come down and hit you. But, you know, when I close the hatch, what's that? You know, this pivots and then it will just come down and sit in that little triangular hole and then close. So, you know, without really adding anything, this sort of let, you know, I can add the shelf, and then, you know, I've kept it fairly light as far as construction. You know, it's pretty lightweight, and also, you know, you can see the shelf is attached below the strut mounting point. So all the weight on the shelf is going down to the hurricane hinge. So it's not gonna, you know, trying to pull the hatch closed when we load up the shelf. And then, so I think it's gonna work okay. And so far it hasn't, you know, it hasn't been a problem. And we, you know, we put a lot of stuff. We put like, you know, wine bottle or spices, you know, olive oils, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then still holds up pretty good. So, and small things like these cabinets front, you know, we opted to go vertical or open up, flip up, and use this sort of a spring hinge. And, you know, this becomes a storage. So if you wanted to put something on there while you're cooking or using the galley, you know, you don't have to use the counter space for that. And, you know, you may think that's a just small thing and, you know, it may not be a big deal, but, you know, in Teardrop, if you can utilize, you know, a few square inch, you know, that's, you know, it becomes very helpful. And of course, you know, this area here, I left it open for the original sink, and I don't carry that anymore. So, you know, I added this bungee like that, and, you know, we can kind of keep something bulky in here while we travel. And I believe that's kind of the galley area. I'll show the solar system later, but, you know, the solar was added this year, May of this year. So this setup is very, very new. And this light here, you know, we started out with being white, and, you know, it's bright and nice and all, but, you know, during the summer, it just attracts bugs, you know, so much. So, you know, we added the red LED strip tape, and then, you know, I can just use the same switch there to white or off or red, and that, you know, it give us enough light to work under the, you know, when after dark, but it seems to attract less bugs. And of course, you know, everybody have to have the U.S. map and all the states that we visit. And we do a little bit different than most, I think. But, you know, we put a state sticker where we travel through with our camper. But, you know, we actually put these golden stars on the, okay. And then, of course, you know, we have to collect all the stickers of the places we've been. All right, and this is right here is my Fender shelf. And again, you know, if you can find a way to, you know, put random stuff for, you know, while you're camping, you know, these little things will help you quite a bit. And I'm thinking about redoing this. It just takes up way too much time when it, I mean, not time, too much space when it's folded and stored. I mean, I put it in this storage area, but since, you know, it's so thick when it's whole folded in half, I'm gonna probably take the design similar to this table here and trying to make something a little more compact. Of course, you know, have to have our Braves tomahawk. All right, so let me move into the galley, not the galley, the cabin area. Also, oh, something else, you know, our camper is, you know, a little bit taller than normal. From the, this is about the top of the frame. So from here to the top is 4 feet, and then there's about 8 inches or so kind of skirt to kind of, again, you know, like I said originally, I wanted the, you know, have a classic teardrop shape and something that's, you know, look like it's down, you know, lower to the ground or lower to the road. So I added this skirt, but then of course, you know, everything comes in 4 feet. So, or you can get 5 feet, but you know, it gets more expensive. So, but you know, I decided to add the diamond plate at the bottom, and then I think it became a pretty good accent. And this sort of the shoe holder, and plus, gosh,
Oh, what's that?
wow, wasn't expecting that. Okay, looks like there's a short somewhere. Wow. That's scary to see that while you're doing the live. Okay, that's something I need to work on. Okay, well, let's just continue with the live, and I'll report back if when I find out exactly what that was. But anyway, this right here is a step for kids to get in the cabin, and or place for the shoes. And I bet this light went off. And there's a short somewhere. Huh. How about that? So let me kind of, so this is a cabin. Like I said, it's a little bit higher, about 42 from the floor to the ceiling, so that we can sit. So, you know, we can sit here and hang out. You know, like I said, we're a small family, small people, so this is good enough to you know, this is pretty decent sized space. And all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and set up the bunk bed. So this bunk bed is slide out, fold out. Like that. And so this is big enough for one kid. Originally it was big enough for two, but now they're grown, and you know, my son, he's not able to sleep crosswise, so you know, my daughter's gonna move into the bunk, and my son, you know, he's gonna sleep on the main floor with us. And typically I'm on the driver's side, sleeping like this, and my wife on the other, and kid, his head gonna be back down towards the galley of the camper, and his feet gonna be on towards here, and then that kind of give us a little more space when we sleep. So, and just go ahead and take this down. I'm not gonna take it down all the way, but I'm gonna show you the dining setup. So, in the main part of the cabin, this is why we have a sort of a 3 separate mattress. Is we have this dining table slash floor storage, and when we have to bring our porta potty, you know, we open this up and set a porta potty here. And this, during the road trip this spring, we actually have to use it, having porta potty here with my daughter. Actually had to use it and on the side of the interstate, and but you know, it became handy. And this is, and this is kind of how it sits. And I have not figured out exactly how to do this neatly, per se. But, you know, this is dining version. When we started camping, it rained almost every single time, and we have to stay inside. And then also, you know, having small kids, you know, just having the interior space is very handy. But you know, this setup worked pretty good. You know, we'll have a kid sit on the back, and then, you know, my wife would be there, and then I'll be here, and then bringing food in and out and things like that. So, you know, so the I guess kind of going back to the original concept of the camper. You know, we wanted this to be 4 people camper, and so, you know, we need to kind of find a way to utilize this space. You know, multifunctional. You got to be bedroom, you got to be living room, and it needed to be dining room. And so, you know, this is our method or way we kind of accomplish that. And of course, you know, another big requirement on this camper design was to have AC. My wife, she said she wouldn't come camping if we didn't have an AC. And then, you know, luckily so, here in the South, if you don't have a AC, it's very, very tough to camp. So I do not have AC sitting anymore, but this hole here is where we stick the typical 5,000 BTU AC window unit, and then the back side of that would be right here, where you see this cardboard box. It's pretty much kind of the back side of the AC. So the idea was to, you know, we have to have the backside of the AC exposed for the ventilation and cooling and so forth. But, you know, you can't leave it exposed because you'll have, you know, everything hitting the backside of the AC and destroy that. So I have a small secondary hatch in the front that I can close it, protect the backside of the AC. When we get to the campsite, open up, and boom, it's already set up. And the something else that I'll be working on this winter is that, you know, I'll try to set up a diesel heater here in this area so that I can camp during the winter. And this here is just kind of starting to mock up the sides of the unit. And I don't have it fully figured out, but that's my next project. And down here is the all the storage for the camper stuff, choke and cables and things like that. And I guess since I'm here, I guess we'll go ahead and talk about propane tank sits here, and this sort of a shelf. I can remove this if I didn't want to take the propane tank with me. And then here's the receiver tongue bar, I guess. Now, let me show the latest addition is the solar panel. We took the trip to North Dakota, South Dakota this past spring, and wanted to have a way, we wanted to kind of start getting into boondocking and, start camping outside of the developed campgrounds, and wanted to find a way to charge the battery that I have. But so I started looking in solar panel, but I wasn't really wanted to just put a solar panel directly onto the roof. One is then when you get to the campsite, you park under the tree, well, you're not charging. And then two, there are some reports saying if this thing overheats, then you could either damage or you lose efficiency and so forth. So if I kind of raise it up from the roof, I get airflow. So thinking that's that will help me. But then also thought about, well, maybe I should just get the suitcase solar panel that I can just keep it in the trunk and then get out and then have a cable extending out to wherever the sun is. But then I'm not using it to charge while I'm traveling. So my solution was to have a thing that I can just leave it on the roof while I'm traveling, and when I get to the campsite I can remove it and then put it on the sun. And so this right here, it pivots, so I got a hinge on the front side. All right, and I have a legs so that I can stand it up. So if I'm just parked somewhere and if the sun is say low that way, then I can stand it up and then get a decent angle facing the sun. And I have another leg for if I need to more or less flat, I guess, and if the sun is right above us. And also this is inline fuse, and I can disconnect and then remove the panel, and you see there's a cam lock. That's what I use to hold this bar to the roof. And then I have extension cord that I can pull this out. And might be a little bit hard to see, but this thing here, once I loosen the cam, this bar here, angle, it slides like this, and it catches this sort of a tab on the panel, and that's what holds this down to the roof. And like I said, we went to North Dakota and back close to 5,000 miles, and it held up okay. So I think the setup should be okay. And let's see, I guess here's something else that I'm working on, did on this side. So this is just a white LED porch light. Again, it attracts bug, and having the bug attracting light right next to the door, I wasn't really thinking when I did this, but that's pretty bad location to have something that attracts the bug. But so this switch will turn white and red, and during the summer we'll just keep it red. But I think now, since the weather is cooler, that I can probably leave it white and be okay. And this bug screen is fairly new. We added that the winter of 2020, and it just follows the kind of opening of the door, and it just held with these snaps, so you can see there's a gap all the way around, but we haven't really had an issue with the bug coming in since we started using this bug screen. So these little gaps, I think it's not a big deal. So okay, do we miss anything?
引いたらコメントが来た。
本当? And this glass, this window here, it's a frameless window, but this been broken before, and this bottom, this cranks out. This one got busted in North Dakota, so I replaced it with the polycarbonate, and it looks like it's holding up okay. I guess we shall see. And then same thing happened on the other side too. So, Velcro show to. All right, let me check some comments. It looks like it's holding up okay. Okay. I guess we'll Alright, so Kenneth, you will want 2K diesel. Oh yeah. I'm definitely gonna use a 2000 watt 2KW diesel heater, and even then I think it's probably too big. I was looking for something smaller than that, but it seems like the 2KW is the smallest diesel heater that I can buy, so I will use that, and I'll probably just use it to, like, right before we go to bed, or just kind of heat up the cabin, and then maybe turn it on when I wake up in the morning, unless it's just freezing cold outside. Dean said you could put little Velcro strips in those spots. Is that referencing Velcro strips? Are you talking about the windows? Oh, you're talking about the bug screen. Yes, I guess I could do that if I had a problem with the bugs coming in between that gap. And yep. Well, I guess that's kind of the walkthrough of my camper, and I don't know if I covered everything or shown you things that you wanted to see, but like I said, we started designing in the January 2013, and then we start actually building in April, and we finished in the first camp in 2015 April. So it took me about 2 years to start from the design to the completion, but that's not where I finished. I mean, it took me I added the solar system in May of 21, so I'm continuously adding more stuff and making changes. And overall weight, the dry weight is about 1450. So by the time I add all the camping gear and stuff, so probably you know, maybe, I don't know, 15, 1600 pounds, depending on how much stuff that I have in the camper. And I pull with the that's my tow vehicle there. It's the 2017 Outback, Subaru Outback. And the capacity on the Subaru Outback is, I believe it's 2,500. I have not had any issues with that. So should be okay. And then when's my next trip? We are planning a trip to go to South in North Carolina during its Thanksgiving weekend or the week. We are going to the go see the Wright Brothers Memorial at the Outer Banks. So we're excited about that. With all the changes, are you boondocking more? Yes, and that's we are. You know, when we started, like I said, my kids, you know, they're like 4 and 1. You know, so we weren't really wanted to do a lot of, you know, hardcore boondocking or things like that, because, you know, having small kids, you know, it's always just difficult. But now they're make sure I get that right, 11 and 8, and actually my son is about to turn 12, and daughter's she's gonna be 9 in December. So, you know, they're grown. So yes, we are. Well, at least I like to. I don't know if they do or not, but I want to do more boondocking and camping, you know, outside of the state parks or developed campgrounds. And so that's the you know, for the solar panel and having the porta potty and, you know, things like that, so that I can be off grid and, you know, just, you know, camp somewhere out nowhere. And Kenneth, you're right. DIY camper never finished. And but, you know, I think we're in this hobby because we like to, you know, work on these things. And, you know, if I ran out of stuff to do, I mean, I'll make up something. You know, I'll maybe, you know, one time, you know, I figured that I think it was last year that I, you know, removed the cabin with this shell off the trailer to, you know, just kind of check on the trailer, see, make sure the trailer is still okay, and then, you know, underside of the cabin is holding up, you know, from the water damage and things like that. And, you know, I mean, I just do that to just, you know, create a project. But you're right, you know, it just never finishes. But that's a good thing. You know, I enjoy working on our camper, you know, my camper, and you know, it's just fun. And Evan had, I would kill to have a shop that big. Well, I mean, I guess in a sense I'm lucky to have a shop, and you know, I wanted to have a, you know, like a dedicated shop, or, you know, big enough where I can have like a 1-car garage all for my shop. But, you know, but I guess that's better than nothing, and probably luck to have what I have. I know some people are, you know, in the group looking for places to build, so, you know, yeah, it's nice. Yeah, when I was building, it was mess though. I mean, you know, the you know, I had to shift the camper to the other open side of the garage, and then, you know, every time I work on it, and when I'm done, you know, I had to clean up, sweep the floor, and then get the garage clean, so my wife, you know, she can have her side back. And then, but, you know, I mean, I guess that's one of the reasons it took me so long to finish it. So me just kind of go through the lesson learned, stuff that I learned when I was building, and things that I did not anticipate. So I knew my camper was a little bigger than typical. So I knew that in a sense, but you know, since this is 4 foot, you know, there's some creative stuff that I have to do that's, you know, beyond 4 foot width. So, you know, on the roof, you know, 5 foot wide. Oh, and this is anodized aluminum. I did not use the mill finish because I knew I wouldn't take care of it. So I just wanted a little more durability on my finish. So 5 foot wide anodized aluminum is very difficult to come by. And I only thing that I could find was the .063, the thickness. So it's much thicker than the .04 aluminum. And of course, you know, it costs more and it's much harder to bend. And so the one sheet is from the hinge. So the piece right here from there all the way to here, and I had to bend it and then come to here. So this is 12 feet. And so 5 by 12 of a .063 anodized aluminum. You know, it was heavy and it cost a little bit more, but you know, but I think at the end, you know, it worked out okay because I didn't want any seam in the roof. You know, I just didn't want any water, wait for the water to get in. And then also, and this is just like a kind of inner part of my, you know, just me, but you know, these roof edge molding, I just did not want any butt joint or the seam on that as well. So this piece here from the hinge all the way around to there is about I think 12 feet. And of course, you know, you can buy 12 feet, but you know, anytime you ask for that piece to be shipped, you know, either comes in freight or they have to cut it in half or do, you know, I think to 8 feet, I think. And of course, you know, I didn't want to do that. So I found a place that I can get it in Atlanta. I was living in Tennessee. So, you know, I went from Tennessee to Atlanta just to pick up pieces of the molding. But, but at the end, you know, I ended up no seam in those roofs joint, the molding joint, so it worked out okay. And I think the only seam that I do have is on the roof. Oops, man, I just ran into the bug screen. There is a seam right here. And that's the only seam that I was not able to figure out. And the ceiling is 1/8-inch thick birch plywood, and that's something else. I started using birch plywood, so I wanted all my finish to be birch, and I was not able to find birch material, lumber, to make a cabinet. So these are the I ordered a flooring box of hardwood flooring, birch, and I use that to just kind of meld it down to the size that I need, and so that I can have, all birch cabinet and finishes inside. All right, let's see, what else did I learn? Let's see. So I guess, if you're thinking about using anodized aluminum, just be aware that the 5 foot wide or bigger size is going to be thicker. So just remember that. And it's basics of basics, but double check your dimensions. There's so many times that I thought I got everything, but missed the design. Dimensions, like around the door, I measured it, I added the thickness, but when you add butyl tape on your trim, well, that makes it a little bit wider, so now the door wouldn't fit in the door opening, and so there's something to think about. And kind of touched on the not to design everything per exact product, like like I was talking about the Camp Chef stove and oven. I also had a DVD TV combo in the main cabinet, and I designed the cabinet based on that. And when I went to the Best Buy to purchase that, well, that unit was, I think I was looking for 19 inch, and then when I went to buy it, it was all all sold out and discontinued, and then only size that I could get was 20. Well, the 20 ended up working okay, but it was just so tight. And so I mean, and then also after a while I ended up removing TV altogether. So don't make it too tight for some particular product that you may have in the camper. And then also, if you are building your camper, taking a little bit longer than like a season, and like myself, it took me 2 years. So I had several winter, I had a winter twice and summer twice. But you're gonna have to stage and plan your work depending on what you're doing. Like if you're using butyl tape and caulk, you probably don't want to do that in the middle of winter, because it's going to make it very difficult to work, because butyl tape gets really hard when it's cold. And also some of the glue and may have a temperature range that you can use. So so you have to kind of make sure, if you can. I know it's not it's not possible all the time, but if you can, plan your work around the climate. And I think I saw. So Ryan's asking, what's the story on the name? I guess you're asking about the Sunny. I think I mentioned it, but it rained every time we camped for first 3 years or so, 4 years maybe. And so we were kind of hoping for sunny weather, and then so we just start calling Sunny. And then ever since we put that actual logo on there, we've been having very good weather. And of course it did not work out last September at the Great Lakes gathering. It rained all the time, but aside from that, we really haven't encountered rain. So that's the reason. We were wanting for a name. We actually, my project, the camp building project code name was Project Jerry Beans, because sort of the shape, and then we wanted to come up with a name, but nothing really stuck to it. And then we've been calling like a camper, and then I just didn't want to call it camper, but all of a sudden Sunny, it just kind of stuck with us, and then we just start calling it Sunny, and then it seemed to work with the weather. So yeah, that's the back story on the our name. The other thing is, if you, I mean, it's pretty basic, but plan your shopping. If you have to order parts, make sure you plan for that. And especially nowadays, I guess, shipping, coming anything from overseas is going to be, you just don't know what to expect. So, there were certain time that I order something and I had to wait, and, I had like a weekend plan to work on certain thing, but I get the parts, so I wasn't able to work on it. So, and then also, when you order something, especially a small piece, go ahead and order some extra parts. And I ordered a switch, and thinking I need like a 4 switch, and then ended up needing 5, so I had to order 1 extra. But that $4 switch turned out to be like 12. 12. Ridiculous, because by the time you add extra shipping and all that, so go ahead and order a couple extra. And speaking of the shopping, budget for glue and screws and all that kind of stuff ahead of time, and then go ahead and buy it online somewhere. There's so many times that I doing something, I ran out of screws or ran out of glue, that I have to go to Lowe's or Home Depot to pick up a few, and those cost more, obviously, and then those adds up. I didn't keep any kind of counts on how many screws and glue that I used for the build, but those things adds up. So make sure you kind of have a ballpark number for in your budget to cover that cost. And then just another thing about the budget or the cost is unless you just want to find out exactly how much you spend, don't collect all the receipts. I kind of counted my costs up until like about 5,000, but then I stopped doing that. And so overall on my camper, I think majority of it was built within like I'm thinking like 5,500, but then I added solar and battery and all that. So I think somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 is my cost. And another big lesson learned is that some of you, if you remember from last year, you probably remember my post, but do not use spacers on the hub unless you completely understand how to use it, what to get, and all that kind of stuff. My wall bypassed the trailer frame, so it goes down. So I forgot to cancel the thickness of the wall to the axle length. So when I put a camper, put a wall on the frame and put a tire on the hub, I didn't have enough clearance between the tire to the wall, and without doing a whole lot of research, so I just need to add a little more space. So I just go buy me aluminum space. I just Google how can I increase the distance from from the push the tire away from the wall, and then I just happened to see a thing called aluminum spacer. Well, great, I'll just buy an 1.25 inches or something like that, so that will give me additional space, and not doing the full research on the understand the danger of it, and different types, and all that kind of stuff. I just did not know. Well, after several years use, I start seeing the this tire right here start wobbling, and then turns out the I have 5 bolts, lug bolts on the tire. 3 out of 5, it was snapped, and it was just ready to the tire was ready to come off the wheel, and the wheel was about to come off the hub, and I just stopped and cut it right before it happened, so nothing major happened. But if I were late, and if the tire came off the hub while I'm on the interstate, this thing probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. So I would not recommend you using the aluminum spacer. It's just easier and more. It's much safer to just reorder a axle, that's right size, and just be done with it. And so that's probably the biggest thing that I learned. But Kenneth, good point. I see people, a lot of people asking questions about how you build a camper so that they can use with the kids and having bunk and then this and that. My biggest regret, well, not much of regret, but if I had this, I guess when I finished, the kids were, I guess, like 6 and 3. But if I had that 2 years, I mean, I could have done more camping. So stop worrying about all the details and go ahead and build it, get it to the campable stage, and then start using. Just go out and start making memories with the kids, and then because they grow up so fast, and I know that. I know a lot of y'all know that already. But and then when the kids are smaller, we can just take off on any weekend and go camping. But once they start going to school, and then they have afternoon or weekend activities, you kind of have to work around that schedule. So the chances of you going to the camp is getting less and less. So go ahead and build it, start going camping, start having fun. And that's probably the best advice that I can give to any of the family that are trying to get into this Teardrop. So I realize I've been talking for more than an hour, and I didn't I didn't think that I can talk this much, but that's what happens about this hobby. I just love about Teardrop, and I just can't stop talking about it. And Teardrop also work Grateful Day trip picnics. Yep. Yeah, I wish I can. I thought about doing the like during the Halloween, set up something in the driveway and then do something. But it turns out, like in Atlanta, this past Sunday, that was a game 5 of the World Series in Atlanta, and then they were they were like looking to just finish off the series. So we didn't have hardly anybody come by. I guess everybody watching the game, so I guess it was okay not to do it. But like next year, I'm kind of thinking about doing something so that I can kind of make this into some kind of Halloween decoration to see, put that out, and then or some short picnics. And yeah, I kind of need to do more of it. I mean, that's kind of what I had for my, I guess, shop talk. Do you guys have any other questions? Of course, I have uploaded my build photos in the group album section. I think it's called Ruse Build in parentheses Sunny, and I think there's like over 1,700 photos, and so you can always go look at it. It's not that organized, and so it might be a little bit harder to follow, but at least there's my build photos are there. And then of course if you need to see any of or any part of my camper in detail, just let me know, send me a message or whatever, and I'm happy to show you anything in details, and share what I know. And so just reach out, and I'll help you anywhere I can. I'd like to thank Jay for setting this up, and hope this continues with the other members. And I guess we'll keep the conversation going in the group, and I guess I'll see you guys there. And then I'm definitely going to be there in June whenever we have our annual gathering. So if you're in the North Carolina area, or even if you're not in North Carolina area, if you're a few hours away or whatever, always try to come, and it's blast, and you learn so much. I continue to learn so much every time I go to gatherings. So if you can make it, try to be there, and hope to see you guys there. So thank you for checking in.